Hey, my friends, Derek here from Bomb Socks with another day of Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ, and we do it one bite at a time. So I'm excited for this week. It's Genesis 24 to 27. Some great stories and some things that will help us stay true to the covenant. Remember how the last couple of weeks we've talked about the Abrahamic covenant. So that covenant continues into this week. So if you remember correctly, you have Abraham and Sarah who have the covenant child, who is Isaac. And so we get into Isaac's story a little bit here. So as part of the Abrahamic covenant, covenant marriage is a key element to that. It is a crucial element to that. So in the Come Follow Me for this week, it says that marriage is essential to God's eternal plan. Today, many people make marriage a low priority or even consider it a burden. Abraham had a different perspective. To him, the marriage of his son Isaac was of highest importance. Why do you think it was so important to him? Again, we talked about that. As you read Genesis 24, and we're going to spend a couple days here, think about the importance of marriage in God's plan of salvation. You may also want to read, and this is a great talk from Elder D. Todd Christofferson. It's called Why Marriage, Why Family? Consider why a family built on the marriage of a man and a woman supplies the best setting for God's plan to thrive. I love that. So there's two questions it gives here in the Come Follow Me manual. The first one, and as you go through about the first 14 verses, Genesis 24, 1 through 14, and it says, what did Abraham and his servant do to include the Lord in their efforts to find a wife for Isaac? And so I want to look at that for a moment. If you look back at verses 3 and 4 of Genesis 24, it says, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth. Now this is Abraham and his servant, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and unto my kindred and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So I was looking around to see how far that was, and it depends on what you want to look at, but the most accurate and the most consistent one is from the land of Canaan, where Abraham was, over to the land of Nahor, where he came from, is somewhere between the neighborhood of 300 to 500 miles. Okay, so I saw some crazy numbers, but that seems to be the most consistent one, right around 500 miles or so, which would have taken him probably about a 15 to 17 day journey one way to go to find a wife for Isaac. So that in and of itself is it's a crazy thing to be able to think of when you think of how far someone is willing to go to be able to find someone who is worthy of that covenant. So that's an important thing to understand with this process. And I love the little phrase in verse number 7 where it says, he shall send his angel before thee. It's like, look, you're not going to do this alone. The Lord's going to help you through this process. So what happens here is it's kind of an interesting thing. So as his servant gets there, he's like, all right, so I'm going to go here by the well, and you're going to see how the well is like the greatest place to meet people, especially when you're looking to get married. It seems like that's like the greatest place. So the well plays an important part in this process. And there's a cool little part in the Come Follow Me where it talks about how Jesus Christ is the well of living water and how he needs to be a part of this process. Well, Abraham's servant, he said, look, okay, so here's the plan. I'm going to be here at the well, and hopefully there's a faithful woman who comes here, and as we do this, she's going to offer me water, and then she's going to offer my camels water. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But he has faith that as he's going in the right direction, the Lord's going to lead him. In fact, you go down to verse 11, and it says, he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. So he's finding himself in the right places at the right time. One of the coolest phrases here, you actually go all the way down to verse 27, and this is after he meets Rebekah, and he says, blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. And this phrase is so cool. I being in the way, the Lord led me. So that's kind of a cool phrase. I being in the way, the Lord led me. So far what you've got here is you've got a faithful individual willing to follow the counsel. And what does he do? He travels far. And because he is in the right place, in the way, the Lord has led him to the place where he needs to go. And I really believe when it comes to marriage and really to most every important decision, you put yourself into the right situations, you be where you are supposed to be, and the Lord is going to guide you in that process. I have kind of a personal story about that. Let me show you these two people right here. So this is Dwayne, all right, and this is Gloria, all right. So Dwayne and Gloria happen to be both, they were young single adult representatives in their respective states. They both lived up in Washington. Dwayne lived in a place called Yakima, and Gloria lived in a place called Sunnyside. And they both had to travel one evening to go to a young single adult activity. There was a meeting, and there was going to be a dance afterwards. So these two didn't know each other, and Dwayne had a long day. He'd worked really hard, and this wasn't until later on. Gloria, the same thing. So neither one of them really had a great desire to go to this, just because it was at the end of the day and everything like that. They had to travel a long ways, but they decided it's part of my calling. I want to make sure I do this. So they both traveled to there, and they met one another by being in the right place at the right time. There's a dance afterwards, and these two met and got to know one another. And Dwayne is getting ready to go on his mission. Gloria is getting ready to go to BYU. And anyway, they meet one another. They decided to write one another while he was on his mission, served his mission in California. So they came back and they got married just a few months after he returned home from his mission. Now, this means something to me. These two are my parents. And so Dwayne and Gloria Crimmins, they are the ones who went through this process of being willing to go where you will find a covenant spouse. I know my dad had dated many individuals who were not covenant keepers, and after a while, he's like, look, I'm not going to do this because that's not what I want to have out of life. So he decided to go where he knew he would find those covenant keepers, and their being in the way, the Lord led them both. And so obviously their covenant marriage means a great deal to me, because they chose to be married in the covenant. I chose to be married in the covenant, and pray that my own children will also do the same thing in that continuation of the covenant. So anyway, just the importance of that initial covenant and how important that was to Abraham to find someone for his son Isaac. And I love the pattern here with that. Anyway, hope that helps you out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for sharing these messages. Please go check out our amazing gospel themed socks at bombsocks.com, and we will see you tomorrow. Godspeed. Bye-bye.